In this video, we want to give you a quick overview of the LearnSpace client. This is the software that you'll run on your laptop and that you and others will use to connect to and share content wirelessly with displays. We won't dive into too much detail in this video. We simply want to give you a feel for the interface and how things are laid out. Look to other videos for more specific use cases and more details on how to use the product. First, as we open up the application here on my desktop, I can see that I'm defaulting to what we call the Connect tab. The first thing we want to do when we start up a session is we want to identify which displays we want to connect to. If we're in Classroom 1, we don't want to connect to the displays in Classroom 2, which we could do because LearnSpace is entirely wireless, but we want to make sure that we're in the right room. We do this by looking at the display in the classroom that we're in, and we'll notice an IP address present on that display. We type that in here, and that'll tell LearnSpace that that's the proper displays to connect to. We can alternatively give it a name or a nickname to remember in the future. That way, if I come back to this classroom, in this case Classroom 1, 2, 3, I simply select it from the drop-down menu and LearnSpace pre-populates all the information. Finally, I want to identify myself here so that as content is being shared, we can tell which is mine and which belongs to someone else. With that done, I'll click Connect. You'll notice at first we moved over to the Share tab by default, and also these other tabs are no longer dark. They're now available because we have an active session going. The Share tab represents the basic interface to LearnSpace. This look and feel is fairly predominant throughout the rest of the client. A couple of callouts worth noting. First, I've connected to a server that has two displays on it. That means Screen 1 and Screen 2 are both available to me to share content to. If you're in a classroom or a conference room with only one display, you'll simply see Screen 1 here and one box. If you're in a room with 5 displays, conversely, you'll see screens 1 through 5 with 5 boxes representing all those displays. And LearnSpace is going to put those here in the client to make them an interactive sharing environment. Now within the Share tab, there's a couple other things worth noting. First, if I want to share my desktop, I simply click the Share Entire Desktop button here, and my desktop is now being shared to a display. If I want to capture a region to do a demonstration or to call attention to a specific part of my display, I can do that as well. Now I've got a region of pixels that are being captured and sent here. And it's worth noting that LearnSpace, since I have two displays, has defaulted by maximizing both of those views separately. I can also initiate a whiteboard discussion, and we'll dive into that in a separate video in more detail. And finally, I can share individual application windows. An application window, and there's instructions on how to do this at this button click here, but an application window is a way to share content privately. You'll notice as I hover over the top of my toolbar here, you'll see this Share button appear. That works with any application we have open. So if I open up a web page, you'll see this same button appear up here. If I select it, the option to Share Window appears. If I select that, now this window is being shared to the display here for everyone to see. But it's private, which is to say if I move my client on top of it, you'll still note that in the preview here, only the web page itself is being displayed. So that if I have an instant message or something else pop up, no one else is going to see it. It's also worth noting how to move stuff around these displays once it's up. You'll notice that a couple of things have been moved off to the shelf. The shelf is a part of the client that simply holds something for future use. So I've got my whiteboard session. I can bring that back if I wanted to. I've also got my desktop. And moving content around is just as simple as dragging it around the displays. The other nice thing about this interface is that you can actually take content and duplex a screen. What I mean by duplex a screen is we can actually take this one display and turn it into 4 by dragging content and moving it into one quadrant. Just click and drag the center of it and move it around to where we want it. And as we add other screen shares, again I'll share a region, we can take that and share that to different parts of the display as well. Just by way of example, I'll put 4 pieces up here. And now this one display is effectively turned into 4 because we've got 4 separate instances being shared at the same time. It's also worth noting that this is all happening from my device. It would work just as well if it was coming from 4 different people or if there was some mix in between there. I'll close these out and we'll move on to the Show tab. Under the Show tab, we're changing things a little bit. Where on the Share tab, we were concerned with sharing our desktop, sharing a region, or sharing an application window, which, by the way, I can still do with these things here. The Show tab is concerned with sharing video files and sharing images directly. We'll have a separate video that describes this in more detail, but very simply, if I want to share content, I'm going to tell LearnSpace to go to a specific folder where either an image file or video file is available. This preview window will open up here within the client, and everything that's within this folder will actually appear to me. If I want to play the video file, I just drag it down to the display. If I want to display the image file, I just drag that down as well, and now both are being shared. If I want to pull those off to the shelf to use them later, I can do that just like I did with my previous content. Let's go ahead and move on to the Moderate tab. The Moderate tab is how you manage connectivity within LearnSpace. LearnSpace is intended to be as interactive as possible, which means anybody should have access to the display. But there's occasions when a faculty member or somebody guiding a discussion needs to take control and either regulate or completely stop interactivity depending on the topic at hand. You'll note that I clicked the Start Moderating button and it opened up this display. It's very similar to the Share display, but it's added these modes here. We'll explain these in a separate video, but they determine how much availability you want your audience to have. The final tab here is the Survey tab. This is what you'll use to initiate surveys within the classroom. So if you want to ask your students a question, if you want to conduct a quiz, or if you want to do something that we call graphical polling, this is the tab you'll use to initiate that. Again, we'll go into more detail on this in a separate video. The final call out I want to make is this button right here, the actual Click for Help button. This opens up the Quick Start Guide. The Quick Start Guide is just a quick reference of information that is contextual to what you're looking at. What I mean by that is if I'm on the Share tab, information in the Quick Start Guide changes that's pertinent to what's going on with the Share tab. If I move over to the Survey tab, likewise, the information changes based on what we can do within the Survey tab. You can always come to the website to find more videos and quick helps there, but if you're just looking for a quick answer, it's a good place to start.